be quiet. When we vote, we what? We win. When we vote, we win. When we vote, we win. When we vote, we win. All right. Thank you to my dear sister in the struggle and for all that you do, Sherry. To my dear daughter, Prashant, and my grandbaby out here, Sherry, my namesake. Thank you for all that you're doing to help with my dear mother's illness, who is a community activist and very ill at this time, so I have to remember her, as she is the wind beneath my wings and has taught me how to fight for justice for all. To the courageous sisters and brothers who organized and set aside this day to reflect and recognize the power of mobilizing our vote, we thank you for making your vision today's reality. So give yourselves a hand. To the awesome women and men who are in our midst that are running for political office to truly change social and economic conditions for all of us on the federal, state, city, county, and county levels, we thank you for your commitment, your passion, your leadership, and your servitude. And to you, my sisters and brothers who have answered the call today, especially our young people, our future leaders, let those who will hear, we will without fear, without hesitation, without reservation, march to the polls. March to the polls. As a proud fourth generation African American woman unionist, I stand on the shoulders of those who represent one of the greatest movements in the world, the labor movement. And as a retired public service worker and a member of the largest, greatest, baddest service union in the world, AFSCME, I stand on the shoulders of those workers who literally make America happen every single day. Workers who stand in the forefront working proudly and tirelessly to serve America's needs in the united front of organized labor. However, as I celebrate our public workers, I cannot continue without remembering those in public service who have been impacted and even lost their lives due to the horrible pandemic our nation faces. Public workers who went to work every day exposing themselves to this horrendous, dreadful virus while providing services for others. They are our heroes. Therefore, I submit to you in the name of all of those workers who continue to work in this pandemic, we must vow to march to the polls and exercise the power of our vote to elect leadership that will follow the science and defeat this virus that has claimed over 200,000 precious lives and infected over 7 million Americans to date. As we remember this great day in Peoria's history and the intent that our organizers envisioned as we march to the polls, let us carry in our hearts the blood-stained banners of our foremothers and forefathers who fought through the labor movement for better working conditions, the women in our lineage who fought during the women's suffrage movement for women's rights, the civil rights giants, heroes, sheroes, and student activists who fought, bled, and died through the most profound movement in our nation's history, the civil rights movement that resulted in the of 1964 that encapsulates protection and outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and later, sexual orientation. Therefore, we continue to protect our inalienable right to humanistic equality, fair employment, fair housing, equal education for our children, and financial equity by marching to the polls and casting our votes for those who believe that civil rights must be the fiber that binds the very essence of our democracy and must be mandated for all and protected by the laws of the land. So, my brothers and sisters, let us march to the polls to rid ourselves of racial divisiveness. Let us march to the polls to rid ourselves of those that will dismantle our affordable health care and leave us vulnerable to pre-existing health conditions. Let us march to the polls for leadership that will protect veterans' rights and our great military from vulnerability. For after all, they do protect us and safeguard our land against the threat of yielding our great democracy to terroristic threat. Let us march to the polls unapologetically to stop the unlawful, hate-directed, belligerent killings of our brothers and sisters whose blood is on the hands of sick, hate-filled hunters who are cloaked in uniforms but are absolutely not peace officers who truly protect and serve. Let us march to the polls to denounce and remove leaders that support, instigate, and encourage domestic terrorists to kill and destroy, while those in power cowered behind bulletproof shields of shame and lies, and germinate hate and confusion between our black, brown, and white sisters and brothers. Let us march to the polls to protect our First Amendment right, especially for our young people who have organized, mobilized, and proven that they are ready to take the baton of justice and equality to the next level, for they have shown the world that they protest and march with all people, black, white, yellow, brown, straight, gay, wealthy, and poor. As they shout in the streets all over the world, they will not stop until all people have the right to live without fear of being shot down in the streets like animals. Because you see, black lives really do matter. Therefore, we will shout it from the White House that my forefathers built to the riverfront here in Peoria, Illinois. The same riverfront where in 1947, a young man who returned from World War II and worked on the Peoria River barge line for $3 a day, but because of organized labor and the inalienable right and his courage to vote, in spite of dirty stares and voter suppression because of the richness of his black skin. Mr. William B. Carter, my grandfather, who under organized labor became a UAW welder for 36 years and never missed one day. He always voted, he always exercised his right to vote, and he taught his family the cruel, brutal history of why we should vote. And he was able to exercise his vote until a year before his passing. So my request, my challenge to you is that as we proudly and boldly march to the polls and cast our votes and cast our votes with pride and dignity, let us remember all of those who fought for our right to vote, and let us vow to tell all that will listen, when we vote what? We win. When we vote what? When we vote what? May God bless you, may God bless our government, and may God bless all of the voters that will boldly march to the polls.